A very good morning. This is Smart Reps on the topic of 5G networks. And today's topic is related to security and safety with health and some questions regarding health issues and how dangerous eventually this 5G rollout is for the humans. Um, before getting over to some of your questions, I know that you have been waiting for this for some time now, but I also wanted to do a short session or program on this issue now that 5G is rolling out. I've been doing some research on the issue for perhaps 2 years, and um, as a founder of ERPDUO, I was also the chief tech of technical development on technology selections and major quality assurance factors back in 2015, and I did not have that much time to work with everything, but my purpose with showing up a presentation from early 2019 was that you, most of the viewers here, will have gained some hands-on technical or practical knowledge about what I'm um, telling, and s- and also to give you a glimpse of how technologies actually work today and has been working for the past 10 years. And let me just start on with some conspiracy theories related to the coronavirus, the ongoing pandemics. We're still in the end of May 2020, almost summer starting, and we have over 5 million deceased or infected, sorry, with the COVID 19. And it was a really rare and eye opening media documentary which I saw. I think it was Pakistani sources where they told us that when the phone uh, was commercially released about 100 years ago in the early 1900th century, the Spanish flu just erupted, killing millions. And now, 100 years later, when 5G is just about to deploy out, this corona just erupted in 2020. And yeah, maybe up to 10 million infected would be expected so far. And then rumors erupted to the extent of how safe and secure is this 5G rollout with customer equipment, devices, phones, um, the network masters, access points, base stations, and towers. What are they going to do with us human? And I mean, will the antennas, etc., affect babies, elders, the sick ones? And I've also read some research on the topic, and I'll try to explain or answer a bit later. Let's just rewind and catch up with some details. Okay, this is around network measures and how they will work. As you understand, you have virtual networks and systems controlling all of the communication. And most of this here is already existing today. So, I mean, if you live in a country where they've just recently launched, let's say, 4G network with LTE version 2 and services, maybe not very cheap data packages, etc. And the question is whether they should jump over to 5G or not. And you've always an opportunity to either keep yourself to the 4 or 4.5G mobile network for a couple of years, or just jump over from 3.5G to 5G. So there is no such need for migrating over to the 5G network immediately. Some great enhancements we have with the heterogeneous networks also in the hereafter are energy saving devices with enhanced operational efficiency, enhanced network management, centralized coverage, and capacity optimization, multi-vendor plug and play, narrowband connection to the network. Okay, yeah, next generation of self-operating networks, and identify enhancements and new features needed for deployments based on active antennas, and evaluate the benefits and impacts of the identified solutions, identify any gaps between zone and further enhancements needed specifically for small cells, reduce network planning efforts for small cells. Yeah, Zone Master by Huawei, 8 of them. Qualcomm with ultrasound, 9 of them, and Cisco is using quantum zone. Um, Let me just briefly advise you that this has been a book which I read, and the main stakeholders at that time were these three. And if you want to know more about what hardware sorry is doing, then you can search up Qualcomm. They have chipsets and processors in 5G phones. Cisco has quite much routers, hubs, etc., backbone communication equipment, while Huawei have the same thing as Cisco basically. USA, China, Qualcomm also something in between China, Asia, and the world. And then you have Nokia, Ericsson. Just sorry for not mentioning them here. Metadata protocol, metadata server, very important measures. Then some recommendations. 5G is going to have to manage many more cells than in legacy systems, and the majority of them will be small cell based, because keep in mind that everything has to be in a micro format to save energy and have improved beaming and all that. And 5G is going to need a distributed virtual zone environment to cope with the volume of cells, complexity, and variety of radio interfaces and configuration required to render the experience of seamless and boundless internet connectivity. Yeah, because the broadcasting here will be so fast that you can literally set up your own media channels, use your mobile devices for live recording and broadcasting, multicasting, unicasting, whatever you want to do, with the standardization of a suitable ontology with the metadata protocol. And okay, providing base stations and small cells conforming to the IRPSS, and with the metadata protocol interface will have the effect of opening up the VSON market to competition, innovation, and optimize 5G system usage. Obviously, when the mobile phones, 5G phones, communication routers, switches, all the equipment is in the market, and telecom operators such as Telia, etc., are ready, good to go to sell their services. We'll see that the focus will be less on the infrastructure, but more on the content and services. And maybe many of you will be among those who are making and developing and designing the content. So End note to the hardware and infrastructure. Radio system design or antenna design for 5G requires homogeneous or heterogeneous integration of a complete set of new tunable architectures and technologies. With existing bipolar CMOS technologies. And some of this here is about the antennas on, let's say, a 5G mobile device. It's a half millimeter to 1/2 millimeter, 1.8 millimeter. So manipulation of an antenna's radiation pattern can be used to avoid noise sources or electronic jamming, improve security and save energy by better directing signal towards intended uses. The evolving 5G cellular wireless networks are predicted to overcome the fundamental limitations of existing cellular networks, giving higher data rates, excellent end-to-end performance, and user coverage in hotspots and crowded area with lower latency, energy consumption, and cost per information transfer. So, what's basically or fundamentally going to happen here is that you, let's say that the the technology you have today will be able to maximize the energy in devices and to use the wide bands to press data through consistently, of course. So that it's not that I don't think, yeah, well, I think a mobile phone would be faster warm, but it's not supposed to do so. And there's a great demand for pattern configurable antennas in fields of wireless communications, satellite communications, radars, and so on. And although the research on reconfigurable antennas only began in recent years, it has attracted a great deal of interest. See that the issue for most of us is that we don't know for sure how fast everything is and what bottlenecks there are. And I'm not an expert on the physical antenna technologies myself. Software defined networking. So I also don't want to say too much about the core technologies. Over to some questions then. Some of your questions are 5G phones and devices safe to use? Okay. Should we worry about beaming from master access points or devices? How do we know that children will not be affected or badly affected? Certainly, there are some human interface related questions here. 5G phones are 85% safe to use, and other user equipment from masters, base stations, etc., will also be 80 to 90% safe to use. Question: safe, if I can just say that. Then, should we worry about beaming from master access points or devices? Um, I think not from master access points, from antenna towers. No to master points. Why not? Because I think that the distance is that much far away, and the encapsulation is done considerably well with maybe extra layers, and they could be placed far away, further away from mass public and from schools and nurseries, barnehage, etc. And from devices, you mean probably mobile devices, partly. Uh, Partly because a mobile device is has a considerably small form factor. You can place the device on the hand, and if you're going to stream data for hours using the unit as a hotspot, then I think you should be. I would be more careful about whether there are kids and children around me or around the device, and keep distance. Another factor is that check that it's not too warm. So say keep, or let's say keep 1 meters distance from children. Yeah. Third question is, how do we know that children will not be affected? Yeah, children are. To be 100% honest with you, I don't know for sure by mid 2020, but I think that within 1.5 years, end of 21, 2022, we'll know very much in detail about whether children and elders will not be affected. But my advice is that children, elders, and anyone with illness or hypersensitivity, keep away from 5G. Keep distance from 5G devices. That is 30 to 50 centimeters. I would advise parents to keep mobile devices, iPads, and even laptops and notebooks away from children, minimum 30 to 50 centimeters, so that they're not affected from the hyper beaming or electromagnetic beaming. And that's important to an age of, I would say, 15 years, 10 to 15 years, because they may get some ear issues or hearing disabilities. Not that I'm a qualified doctor to say that, but I'm just coming with some warnings. And that's also why um, I don't defy or deny anything, and I'm trying to be as honest as I can be with you on the topic. Obviously, time will show, but my observation is that 5G is 80% safe and secure to use. So I wish everyone a great venture or adventure with exploring 5G content. And yeah, the last question I had got in my mind, which I did not include here, is people asking about, typically religious people, Muslims, Christians, Jewish, whatever, about end time, satanic things, or how they say, satanic or Dajjali things where the technology will take over your assets and control you totally. And okay, fine with that, but I think all and everyone should see that there are some good parts with technology, technical revolutions, and some bad ones. And How many of you or a household around you does not use a computer, does not use internet, doesn't use a mobile phone, a smartphone, does not use mobile data? How many of you don't use Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi, wireless network, at all? How many of you don't use or appreciate YouTube? How many of you don't appreciate programs and channels on the web, on YouTube, on TV streaming channels from Pakistani, Indian, Chinese, Japanese, African, European channels, broadcasting media? How many of you don't like to use LinkedIn or Facebook, etc.? So I think that you have always a choice to either do things or not do, but there is no reason to dramatize anything. There are always be many good arguments for doing something, and I can also see that on YouTube. I mean, millions of people earning on the unicasting there, and Muslim channels, and Indian comedians and Pakistani talk shows, and all that, from 10, 15-year olds to elders. So control their children, and take care about your friend and the families and yourself. So thanks so much for being with me today.